Thank you for joining us tonight for the April 25th Avon Town Council agenda meeting. And would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Bill Holland. Robert Pope.
Present.
Jason Puckett.
Present.
Don Loudon.
Present.
Greg Zuzen.
Present. Next item on the agenda is the Arbor Day proclamation. Mr. Cannon.
I think Ms. Loker is actually going to read it for us.
Ms. Loker.
Proclamation of the Town of Avon, Arbor Day Proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that the special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas the holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas the trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, lower our heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean our air, as well as produce oxygen and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of businesses in the area, beautify our community. Whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Whereas Avon is the first Tree City USA community in Hendricks County and has achieved this designation every year since 2007. Now therefore, the Town Council of Avon does hereby proclaim that April the 26th, 2024 as Avon's Arbor Day. In the town of Avon, Indiana, we urge all citizens to honor this day in recognition of all the big trees of Avon and increase awareness for the benefits of our urban forest, to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, we urge all citizens to plant and care for trees to bring joy to life and promote the welfare of our generation and future generations. Proclaimed this 25th day of April in the year 2024 by the Town Council of Avon.
Thank you, Julie. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions regarding the check register, work session minutes, approval of minutes?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Robert Pope.
4.
Jason Puckett.
4.
Greg Zuzen.
4.
Don Loudon.
4.
Next item on the agenda is the first of 2 public comment opportunities. The public may comment on items on the agenda that are not a public hearing or on a specific matter within the council's jurisdiction. If you would, please come forward, state your name and address, and limit your conversation to 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Linda Dobbs. Oh, sure. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Linda Dobbs. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I was warned of the 3 minutes, so here goes. My concern are 2 unfortunate trends emerging today, and they're the post-pandemic reckless driving and the far more people dying in crashes resulting from drivers running red lights. This change in both the attitude and approach towards traffic laws and signals has increased. I've been an Avon resident since 1981, and of course the number of traffic lights has increased since then. However, I work part-time at HRH YMCA, and my route still uses the same primary 2 traffic lights that I used back then. Even with my awareness for automobiles coming through red lights, I've been almost hit several times at 267 Rockville, and again once at 267 in Dan Jones. This change in driver behavior has been something I've been focused on since last fall. I began to investigate the possibility of more visibility of police at high incident intersections and the possibility of putting up a billboard on Rockville between the 2 intersections that I mentioned as perhaps a public service announcement. Perhaps partnering with the hospital, as they have a bulletin board that they read almost monthly. You know, something like, do you remember when a red light meant stop? I spoke with an officer at the police department and with someone who I approached here at Town Hall, and I was not satisfied or even encouraged with the responses that I received. In the past, many positive changes have come from grassroots solutions and efforts to change things for the better. A few examples of those would certainly include Mothers Against Drunk Drive It, Click It, or Ticket. And our one most recent campaign, being the former educator, focusing on the law requiring cars to stop when the stop sign is out on a school bus. Statistics support the impact these programs have made. New York City began a new red light camera program in 1994. In 2022, DOT report showed that red light violations had declined by more than 77% since the beginning of their red light camera program. That same report showed that 94% of the vehicles caught running a red light had no more than one additional violation after that. T-bone crashes there had also dropped by 65%, and rear-end collisions had dropped by 49% at intersections with cameras. The report also indicated that by even having only 10% of their intersections equipped with cameras, it served as a deterrent effect. I'm aware there are drawbacks and economic costs to cameras. The DOT report that I've cited stated that unfortunately less than half of the 1,448,000 red light events resulted in tickets because of the difficulty in reading plates and defaced parts of plates. Costs, however, have gone down with newer technology that's using radar to trigger the photo, making it easier to install, maintain, and more cost-effective. I would like to inquire as to what and how the town and police have done or are planning to do to evaluate the possible solutions to address this rising concern. Thank you.
Thank you. With nobody else coming forward, then we'll close that portion of the agenda and move to new business. Authorization to purchase facial recognition software. Chief Stoops.
Good evening. You should have in your packet a memorandum as well as a description of the Clearview proposal for facial recognition. If you recall, we recently hired Candace Reed as a new intelligence analyst, and this was brought to our attention by Candace and some of her associates that she works with. And this is meant to help identify criminals in our community that have been identified on surveillance videos and cameras that we have no further information with. And as you can see in the packet, it's very efficient and it's very, very successful, and it's rated at the top of the nation and as far as the top 3 in the world as far as the efficiency and the accuracy. And it's important to understand that this is not going to invade any privacy issues or anything like that, because it compares all of this to known photographs across the nation from jails, prisons, and over almost 30 billion different pieces of information from the public sector on the internet, social media, and so forth. We do have a couple of different options that we are looking at to pay for it, and we would ask that option 2 be the preference because it does offer a cost savings of over $1,200. But we would answer any questions at this time if you have any questions regarding the information in the packet.
Any questions for Chief Stoops?
Shauna, how will this data be used? Will it be in any way used as to try the person themselves? I think I spoke with Brian and he mentioned it would more be used for lead information, and I'm forgetting the other phrase. What I'm worried about is artificial intelligence being used to determine if this is that person or not, or is there a human check between what this might output or might show you versus arresting someone?
You're correct. This is for lead information only. It still relies upon a real person, an investigator, to actually check and verify all of the information. Just because this picture matches a picture that you have on a surveillance video from, say, one of our department stores, doesn't automatically assign guilt or convict the person of that crime. It still depends on the investigator's ability to use that information as lead information and develop the case throughout investigative measures to identify and properly come to a level of probable cause to petition the court for the arrest of that individual, where they still have an opportunity for a fair trial in a court of law.
Okay, thank you. I have one more, but I wanted the other one is because of that, that little protection there. Now let's talk about paying for it. If this is successful, your intention is to use this over at least the next 3 years. Yes?
It is a 3-year contract or agreement. If you pay it on installment plans annually, it's going to come to just over $12,450, it looks like. If you choose to pay it one time, it will be $11,205. So there is a little bit of a cost savings.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
If you're needing this for 3 years and you're going to come back here every year for it, I'd like to save 10%. That's where I'm trying to get
Yeah.
to.
And it should be noted, and I think it's in the packet there, that we did have a trial run on it. And within a matter of minutes, we had some old photographs that we had from cold cases. And within a matter of minutes, it already had found someone and provided 4 known photographs of bookend photos of that individual from across the United States that allowed them to clear that theft case, I think it was. So it does work. They have the #1 algorithm for this in the United States, and it's in the top 3 in the world. So it's a really good, reliable system.
That's it
Any
for
other
me.
questions? My only question, Sean, is you're going to get this from the Lit Public Safety Fund to pay
Yes.
for this?
That would be our intention. Yes,
There's more than enough money in there to cover the one lump sum payment.
there is.
If there are no other questions, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the $11,205 to Clearview AI as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Don Loudon,
4.
Robert Vogt,
4.
Craig Ciucci,
4.
Jason Puckett,
4. Thank you.
Thank you. I glossed over council comment and liaison reports, and I don't want to, have you guys have your opportunity to speak. So. Dawn,
I have nothing.
Jason, Robert.
The only thing was I had a recycling district board meeting earlier this week, and nothing really major, just the tipping fee increase went into effect April 1. So there hasn't really been data for them to show us, is that making the impact that we expect? We will be looking at how those fees are growing, what that does to revenue for the district, both in the July and October. We expect that we may adjust come October time. So later this year, I might have some more information around the tipping fee. That was it.
I
Thanks.
have a question for you, Robert.
Yeah.
So I don't want to miss out on the grant money that comes up available there. Are you monitoring that for us so that we can get our projects?
We missed it for this spring. We had the proposals, the request at this board meeting. That's, as you remember, that's done by a committee. We're just the last check on that. However, I made sure and spoke with Lynn afterwards, give me some more details on what maybe we can. And I just haven't followed up with staff to, hey, make sure we're applying for these.
Okay, thanks.
I had 2 things. The Plan Commission met on Monday night. There will be seeing 2 rezonings coming forward. The properties on 36 and the Mission Foods rezoning were both recommended with favorable recommendations to the council. And then yesterday I attended the Hendricks County Economic Development Partnership quarterly board meeting. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 2024-09, interlocal agreement for Dan Jones Road Bridge. Mr. Cannon.
Yes, as you guys are familiar, the town has been working with the county on the widening of the Dan Jones Road Bridge. The county is responsible for the construction of the actual bridge, but the town had requested when the county builds the bridge for them to try to match some of the aesthetics that we did on the Avon Avenue Bridge. And so the county was willing to do those things, but they did ask that the town pay for those expenses, of which we said we were willing to do. And so in order to do that, again, just like on other projects, when we did the Avon Avenue Bridge, we kind of did the inverse of this. The county agreed to give us the money and the town oversaw the project. In this situation, the town would make the contribution to the county and the county would be responsible for overseeing the project. We do expect our share to be about $1.5 million. The project has not been bid yet, so those are only estimates at this point. The redevelopment commission actually budgeted the $750,000 in this year's budget. And that's why if you read the agreement, it's actually set up that the town's share this year is at $750,000. And then we'll pay the difference of whatever that expense is in 2025. So we'll have to budget that other portion in 2025, but we should have the budget number by the time that comes around. This agreement obviously has already been to the commissioners and the county council. It's been approved by both. It also went to the redevelopment commission. They approved it as well. State law actually says that interlocal agreements are actually the responsibility of the council. So that's why it's also coming to you. But we wanted the redevelopment commission to approve it because they're the expense side. So this is kind of the last step in the process. If the council approves it, then we'll get it back to the county and the project can move forward. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Cannon?
Is the county bidding the whole project then, or are we bidding the aesthetic part of the bridge?
No, the county's bidding the whole project.
And we'll approve the
And
design?
we'll approve. Well, we've already given them all the specifications and what we want. They've actually given us the quantities from their bid. And we'll even have the opportunity when it's bid, like if something comes in really high and we're like, hey, wait, that's out of line with what we expected, we would still have the ability to say, we're not going to do that piece. We'll just waive it. And then the town wouldn't be responsible for that. So the county did give us those quantities and they've given us the items that we would be responsible for paying for.
And it'll have a walking trail over the bridge?
It does have, it's not a walking trail. So because of the way they're building it, I believe one side has a 6-foot sidewalk and the other side has a 4-foot sidewalk. We wanted the walking path on the one bridge, but it would be on where we're building our trail is on the east side of Dan Jones. But because the county's reusing that bridge, the additional weight of widening it, they're unable to actually do that. And so they could only go so wide, which is why it's 6 foot on that side. And I think it's 4 foot on the other side. But there will be a way on both sides of the bridge to be able to get over it, unlike it is today. So it's not quite 10 foot like we would have liked, but at least it's not prohibiting pedestrians.
You mentioned 1.5 million as a rough estimate. Here says $750,000 will be paid to the county. And I think when I originally read this, I felt like that's what the estimate was before I read further. Am I understanding that we're just paying 50%-ish up front and then balance after they get the actual expenses from the contractor, from the constructor?
Correct. Yeah. So this construction schedule is expected to take 18 months. And so we didn't know when the county was actually going to bid this project. So their RDC had actually budgeted for it like the previous 3 years, and then the county never did it. And so we kind of got to a point where that was prohibiting our budget. We couldn't go do other projects we wanted to do because every year we kept budgeting for this for the county. So when we did our budget last year, we just put in half the money. And so that's what was in. And so when the county said, will you pay 1.5, I said, I don't have $1.5 million in this year's budget. So I said, since it's going to take 18 months, most of the stuff we're doing is the aesthetic stuff. It's in the back end anyway. I asked if they were just willing to take the 750 in year one, so it worked with our budget. And then, yeah, we'd pay the difference then in 2025.
Thank you.
So really then Exhibit A that you have attached to this are the enhancements that we're putting onto this?
That's correct.
So how did this is all linear feet and 15 items of this, that, and the other. How did you estimate 1.5 million?
We took those numbers and then we extrapolated it. We put unit costs to each of those items. And then that actually, it's the same way we would do an engineer's estimate. So that's what our engineer, we don't normally share engineers' estimates with you guys, but that's what a typical engineer estimate looks like. But then they just add another column, and then they put, using NDOT unit prices, they'll say, these things are expected to bid at these costs. And so then if you multiply the unit prices times the cost, then that gets you to the 1.5 million.
And that payment's coming out of TIF fund as well.
That's correct. Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Cannon? Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept resolution 2024-09 as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Roll call, please.
Ellen Mar,
4.
Jason Puckett,
4.
Earl Coe,
4.
Greg Susan,
4. Next item on the agenda is the introduction of ordinance 2024-12, amending the 2024 salary ordinance.
I apologize. I know you guys just approved a change to the salary ordinance at your last council meeting. But as I told you in my memo, we did have the opportunity. We only had 2 applications for our senior planner position. One of them wasn't qualified. The other one actually had really good qualifications and had a lot of experience, substantially more than what our previous senior planner even had. Linda also has actually hired them when they worked for the city of Indianapolis. So she is familiar with this person and believes they're a really good employee and would be a great fit with our culture. I did ask Linda to do some evaluations of pay for typical positions, and she did do some of that. What we were paying at our senior planner was really at the low end of the pay scale. But as you guys are aware, that position we were really hiring as an entry-level senior planner. This person is not an entry-level senior planner. So when you get to more of a mid-range senior planner, you do get up actually into the mid to upper 60s for pay for somebody with that level of experience based on when we analyzed what other people were doing. So what we're proposing, salary actually equates to about $63,000 per year. Actually fits pretty well into the town's current scale and other positions that we have. Sometimes the concern with doing this is, do we get employees out of whack with what other employees should actually be? But it actually fits in really well with kind of how we've classified, especially our planning and building department. And so I think it fits in, it works. We are able to afford the additional cost just due to the fact that we had vacancies. So we're comfortable that we're able to pay that position based on what I've put in the salary ordinance. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I would request if you guys are willing to consider waiving the rules and actually approving this. The applicant said that they would start on Monday as long as they pass all their background checks, and they have passed one already, and I think Sean's working on the other one for me. But if you guys are willing to do that, otherwise we'd have to wait until after the salary gets approved for them to be able to start. So if you guys are willing to consider that, I'd appreciate it.
First of all, any questions for Mr. Cannon? Would somebody like to make a motion to suspend the rules and add this to the agenda for final reading?
I'm looking at you, Dan, make sure I navigate this one properly. I make a motion that we suspend the rules to modify the agenda and add the final reading of this ordinance to said agenda.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Robert Pope,
4.
Jason Puckett,
4.
Ellen Mar,
4.
Greg Susan,
4. Now we need another motion to add the final reading of ordinance 2024-12, amending the 2024 salary ordinance to the agenda.
No, you just did that. Now you just did a motion on the actual ordinance itself.
Oh, okay. So the final reading.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, based on what I just said, the final reading, does anybody have any questions or comments?
No.
Would somebody like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2024-12, amending the 2024 salary ordinance as presented.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Roll call, please.
Robert Pope,
4.
Jason Puckett,
4.
Greg Susan,
4.
Ellen Mar.
4.
Next item is legal counsel report.
We have nothing tonight, but thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Next item is the second public comment opportunity. If you'd like to come forward, please do so. State your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. With nobody coming forward, we'll close that and move to council comment.
Still nothing.
How about council calendar, Mr. Cannon?
Yeah, if you may give me a little latitude, I want to do a couple of things. The council calendar easy piece is your next meeting is May 9th, and we do have a work session at 5:30 PM. I did also want to give a shout out to a couple of people. One, I don't know if people can see on the screen, but I want to, Katie Bonilla, who's a second grade teacher at Sycamore Elementary, in her class. If you're in the council chamber, you can see the beautiful artwork that they did. It has brought beautiful color to our council chamber. And so if people want to stop by and see the artwork, but thank you to the kids, the second grade kids and Mrs. Bonilla as well for doing that for us. I also wanted to give a shout out to a couple employees. I know sometimes we don't recognize our employees, but two individuals in particular I wanted to mention, Lorenzo Aguiar and Rudy Stymick. We had some people who came to our park and their vehicle broke down. And so Rudy and Lorenzo actually went up to the maintenance building, got all their tools, and actually came down and helped fix the person's car so that they could go. And again, when we look for employees and the kind of people we want here, that's what we want. We want people to be willing to go that extra mile to kind of help people out and especially help people in our community. So I wanted to say thank you to both of them for doing that. I also wanted to give a shout out to Suzanne and Angel. I know you guys are aware that we had kind of a difficult personnel situation that we had to deal with. And Suzanne and Angel were both awesome and kind of getting into action, kind of handling and helping me kind of navigate that situation. So I want to give a shout out to both Suzanne and Angel and thank them for their help with doing that as well. So thank you for the latitude. I know that wasn't council calendar, but.
Saturday. Heavy trash day.
Oh, Saturday, heavy trash day. Yes. Thank you, Greg. Saturday, heavy trash day for town residents. 9 to 1 at the Salt Barn, which is right behind the Aldi's and Ashley Furniture. Thank you, Greg.
All right. Thank you. If nothing else, meeting's adjourned.